Welcome back to Unknown Territory. I'm the man they call Dave, and I am back here for part 2 of Ancient Aliens with KVK MMS. Why don't you say some highs?
What's going on, Dave?
Yeah, same shit, different day. Yeah, pardon my French, but you want to know what? Every once in a while, something slips out.
Every single time you slip out, an angel loses its wings.
No angel died from that one.
How do you know that?
Well, I don't.
Well, then, stop filling people with your philosophical nonsense.
Okay, so you said you had 2 more topics this time. You had 2 more good topics to bring up to me, which I am unaware of, by the way, to bring up about the ancient alien theory. Now, keep in mind, this is part 2, and this will be a mini-sode. So why don't you go ahead and throw me your first?
And I thought it would be interesting to bring up some topics with my brand new Ancient Alien companion book, which has been released today. So for those of you who enjoy Amazon Books or Barnes & Noble, you could pick up your own copy of this. So I figured that we would skim through and talk about some topics, if that's okay with you.
That is absolutely fine.
So I think today we are going to talk about... Ooh, here's a good one. Let's talk about the meaning of myths when it comes to...
The meaning of myths.
When it comes to ancient astronaut theory. How about that?
Okay.
How's that grab you? Now, first of all, I think it's more important for you to understand something, Dave. What do you think about when you think of a myth?
When I think of a myth, I think about something that was way before my time, and it became a legend. A myth becomes a legend, and it could be true or it could be false.
But the main premise of any kind of myth is that it's not real.
Yes.
Correct.
Essentially.
Right? Essentially, based on mainstream scholars, they'll tell you that most Greek myths are just made-up fantasy. Just things of that nature, okay?
Kind of like the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Yes. Okay. Now,
by Homer.
Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, that at the time when people were writing these myths, could it be possible that there could be some sort of core of truth here?
In most myths, there is a small core of truth, as you just said. There's going to be a little grain of rice of truth in something.
So in ancient astronaut theory, what we're trying to propose is, what is that core of that truth? Because if you're basically writing down history, there's got to be some sort of truth to what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. Unless, and I know this is going to be really far out there, maybe they were describing and depicting what they actually saw. Unfortunately, for the vocabulary at the time, they didn't know how to describe.
Have words to describe
these things. Okay, so from that aspect, we have to look at these literary arts and some of these fables and say to ourselves, what are they really trying to interpret? Mm-hmm. And a lot of this can be interpreted in many religions around the world, which, you could take it for face value that a religion could be basically a myth. The same thing could be possible. We don't necessarily know that they are true. We just take it at face value with faith. So when they talk about beings coming from the sky and this, that, and so forth, could that be just a metaphor for angels or ethereal beings?
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you on that. Now, keep in mind, listeners, I have no idea what KVK was planning on bringing up to me, so I'm just responding to him. But, okay, think about this. As you were just saying, as far as myth, like, look at Vimanas, and I know that from Hindu. Mm-hmm. How could they describe it back then?
Well, when you were looking at ancient depictions, which you can see this in Sanskrit, they actually have descriptions of what Vimanas were, and they basically are described as giant cities in the sky. But
do you remember seeing that? Not to cut you off, do you remember seeing, listeners, if you remember this, tell me if it's Fata Morgana or not. Do you remember seeing the city in the sky in China?
Mm-hmm.
There was a whole video about that.
Mm-hmm.
That was viral all over the internet of seeing a city in the sky, Project Bluebeam.
Yep. Apparently people made video footage of it in the sky.
Yep.
Yeah. I saw all that. Yep.
Okay, that's just one thing that hit my mind.
And that's another thing that people were bringing up when that was being broadcast about China, is that, okay, so now these people are starting to see cities in the sky, and we have an exact same reference of this in ancient India, which are supposed to be Sanskrit writings that are just mythological tales.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we have a concurring in modern day of something of that magnitude. So what could this possibly be? Could this be just, made up fantasy, or are they literally trying to depict, with their own limited understanding of the time, what is going on in their everyday life? And if they are depicting what they describe as a giant city in the sky, could it be literally some sort of craft in the sky?
It very well could be.
I know it sounds crazy, but
it doesn't sound crazy.
You have to look
at when you look at different.
You have to look at it at an open mind and realize about what people are trying to interpret here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the same thing can be said about Greek myths. Okay, they talk about all of the creatures that exist in Greek myths. You talk about
the Gorgon,
the Centaur,
the Minotaur,
the Chimera,
the
Hydra,
the
Hydra,
mm-hmm.
Cerberus. Okay,
Cerberus. That was the three-headed dog that guards the gate of Hades.
All of these creatures that they describe in Greek mythology. Could there be some sort of actual literacy to their claims? Do we have evidence that we can actually create hybrid beings? Yes, we have had this in numerous actions in people, okay? We also have gene splicing that is going on with our own scientists right now, okay? We have had similar in recent times that they are able to have human blood flowing through pig anatomy.
Yes. Well, the pig is the closest to human anatomy out of any animal in the animal kingdom that I'm aware of.
In China, they were able to take a rabbit embryo, extract all of the nuclear DNA inside of it that would program it to make a rabbit embryo, and replace it with human DNA. So in essence,
that I did not know.
Oh yeah, and this
is brand new news to me.
And this was as late as 2002. So in essence, we had a human embryo with small traces of rabbit DNA in the human.
That's creepy, but let's go back to the original topic because we're getting off a little bit.
But this is the reason why we have to bring these things up, is because if we are able to do that in modern time, what would make you think that the ancients couldn't have done the same thing? Or, the ancient gods couldn't have done the same thing, but our ancient ancestors took them for what they literally were.
So essentially what
and
you're
have relegated it into myth and legend.
Essentially what you were saying right now is kind of bridging the gap between what we said in the last minisode of how did modern man jump from Neanderthal to all of a sudden within a very short amount of time. And for humans, what is it? How many years have since humans... we're talking about the technological age, how quickly everything went.
It's about
based on our ancestors. 3,000 years,
You're looking at 3,000 BC. There was this just more giant leap in... just advancement. We went from sitting in caves, munching on bananas, to all of a sudden waking up and we're going to start building a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know about you, but that's one of those things that just
changed.
That's one of those things that just doesn't happen overnight. You know what I mean?
If you think about it, if any land-dwelling organism came from the sea, Darwinism, we're talking about Darwinism. If any land-based animal came from the sea and then grew legs, think about it. How come we, all of a sudden from Cro-Magnon, now we have ceiling fans and we're flying jets in the sky?
It's one of those things.
In such a short amount of time.
It's one of those things that you just can't contemplate.
No.
And also, you have to look at it from, an evolutionary background, is that when it comes to human beings, when you're born, let's put it that way, when you're born, okay, and you have to learn how to walk. You have to learn how to talk. When you go to school, you learn your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, this, that, and so forth. These are things that need to be learned, okay? It's not certain things that are just done by osmosis. If that was the case, it would be instinct, like the animals do, okay? And our instincts have been almost suppressed for a while, if you know what I mean. And it's just it boggles the mind.
It does.
If you really think about it, is that you literally, if you look at a human being, take a look at this for example. Okay, I thought about this the other day. Look at a human being, a baby human being, and look at a baby horse. Okay, when a baby horse is born, it immediately knows how to stand up and immediately knows how to walk. And that's basically known.
I never thought of that.
And that's
a very, very good comparison.
And even if you want to go even
good analogy.
You want to go even deeper, let's try a baby whale. A baby whale is born in the water, so it needs
How does it learn to breathe?
It needs to know that I can't breathe this water. I need to get air.
How do I get oxygen out of the water?
It knows this. It has to get air. It doesn't have any gills. It has to get air.
I didn't think about that.
But when you look at a human being, we're pretty fragile beings, are we not? We don't really have any fur. We don't have any claws. We don't have any fangs. We can't really defend ourselves.
But yet we're still the dominant species.
And our parents, be that as it may, especially in modern society, unless we have some sort of a weapon, can't really defend against mass amounts of predators.
No, we couldn't.
So you have to say to yourself, what is going on here? This is something that's completely different, okay? But at one time, based on what our scientists have said, we used to have fur. We used to be a lot more territorial. We used to live in a jungle and this, that, and so forth. And all of a sudden, that just disappears. Almost like that. And
all right, I'm going to have to put you on hold just for a minute because we're going to be going into our one and only break. I am here with KVK. Keep in mind what you were saying. Don't forget what you're talking about. We need to go into this break, so I will be back with you guys shortly with KVK. on the East Coast, we are back. Unknown territory. This is the man they call Dave with KVK MMS. And our topic is ancient aliens. So why don't you take it away, good sir?
Well, for the last topic of the night, I thought it would be good to venture into the world of religion.
Oh, you're gonna get on the religious aspect.
I know.
Of it. Okay.
I know. There's the hiss.
Religious. Nobody.
The PC doesn't want to talk about this, but we're going to talk about it today, Dave.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, and I think that it's important that we talk about the Ark of the Covenant.
Ooh. What would the Ark of the Covenant have anything to do with the ancient alien theory?
Well, first of all, with the Ark of the Covenant in that of itself, when it comes to any type of religion whatsoever, especially when it comes to Judaism and Christianity in that of itself.
Well, those are two separate religions, Judaism and Christianity.
But they're both predominantly believing in the Ark of the Covenant themselves.
Yes.
And the two of them, regardless of what you think, are an extraterrestrial religion. They base their gods based on something that's not of this planet, not of this earth. It comes from somewhere else.
Oh, please get into that, because this I know nothing about. I'm interested.
So
tell the listeners, too.
And the reason why I say that is because even rabbis and priests will tell you that God comes from somewhere else. So there's no other term that you can use to describe this other than extraterrestrial. So in turn, Christianity and Judaism are an extraterrestrial religion, in a nutshell. Okay,
or an extra dimensional,
or either or.
Depending on how you think.
When it comes to the Ark of the Covenant, we have to look.
I'm not saying I believe in it.
We have to look at the story of the Ark of the Covenant and take it apart piece by piece. Okay, story goes is that Moses goes to Mount Sinai with the rest of the children of Israel. Goes up on the mountain. God tells Moses that he wants to have the children of Israel create an ark for him to house his 10 Commandments in. Okay, The box is pretty much is pretty much layered with wood on the inside and outside. Then it's layered with gold on the outside and the inside.
Well,
okay. Wait, we're not done. We're not done yet.
Hang on. I have to interrupt you now because
now
you said Moses building an ark. Wouldn't that have been Noah?
No, it was Moses. It wasn't Noah.
Oh, Noah's ark.
No, this is not that kind of an ark. It's a different kind of ark.
Well, I'm just saying that for the listeners, if they can't know the difference between the Ark of the Covenant and Noah's Ark.
There are two different types of arks, which I was getting to, and then you interrupted me. So, what basically the ark is? So, what the ark is basically described as this giant wooden box, and it's layered in gold. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it has golden rings on the outside of it. And there is a pole that is run through these rings, and the orders are that they are not to be removed from the rings. And on top is a gold lid, and on the top of that gold lid is cherubims or guardian angels on top.
Cherubims, yeah.
Okay, so and
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
This whole concept of this ark was supposedly supposed to contain the 10 Commandments. Unfortunately, there are stories that say that the ark also held other things inside of it.
I did hear about that too.
Okay. Also contained inside the ark was Aaron's rod. The rod that miraculously turned itself into a snake. There was also a jar of manna, which was some sort of edible starch that was given to the Israelites during their 40-year walks in the desert. Okay.
To allow them to survive.
Yes. So when you put these together and you actually read about this, the Ark of the Covenant almost seems like a toolkit more than just a chamber. Okay. And the scriptures also say that as long as the power of the ark is with them, God will always be with them. Mm-hmm. Okay. But the stories in which that this magical ark does is just profound. Okay. It says that it rises up in the air, it fights the enemies of Israel, and smites them to death. The causes.
That's why I had to bring up Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The causes of death are written very clearly that the cause of death is cancerous tumors. And it's like, what kind of an object that would bring that kind of destruction and cause sickness that almost sounds like radiation sickness?
Yes.
And so, in turn,
not melting faces off of Nazis, mind you.
No. And you also have the story of the falling of the walls of Jericho. They were asked, the Israelites were asked told by God to march around.
I forgot about that.
They were asked to march around the city once a day for 7 days. They marched around the city, and with them around this city was the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, and on the 8th day, they blew the ram horns, the shofar, and you have to think of the shouting of the people, the blowing of the ram's horns, and the power that we cannot describe that came from the ark made these big stone walls collapse in order for the Israelites to sack that city.
Now, let me ask you a question. How does the Ark of the Covenant and the walls of Jericho have anything in connection to the ancient astronaut or ancient alien theory?
Well, it's really simple, is that when you look at those stories and you put the two and two together, the only conclusion you could get is that the Ark of the Covenant housed an extraterrestrial device that was given to the Israelites so that they could conquer most of Judea. And when you take a technological device and put it in the hands of a primitive society that does not understand what kind of technology they are wielding, they will, of course, look at it from a perspective that if I look at the ark, if I touch the ark, it will smite me to death. They didn't realize that they were dealing with atomic power at the time.
Atomic? Okay, so you're talking about atomic power now.
Yes. The description is very clear that anybody who comes in contact with the ark and did not know how to handle it was smitten to death. The cause of death is radiation poisoning, some sort of tumors that were infected on somebody's body, and the only thing that we could think of, and their hair started to fall out, their nails started to fall out.
Common symptoms of radiation poisoning.
And it would always occur when people got involved with the ark and they didn't know what they were doing. In order to be near the ark, you had to be an ordained priest. You had to wear a breastplate. You had to wear a mitre. Certain areas of the body had to be covered. The heart, the lungs, the intestines, the genital area. When you put all of these things together, the Ark of the Covenant is a very, very dangerous device. And why would a dangerous device be given by God? Unless it wasn't God, it was an extraterrestrial device in order to help Judea conquer and become the nation that they are today.
Kind of like Greek fire.
Pretty much.
Nobody can replicate it.
Yep.
To this day.
And Greek fire was said to be from the gods.
Mm-hmm. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to wrap up Ancient Aliens Part 2. Do you think there should be a 3 for a MINISODE at some point? You think there should be a 3 because the Ancient Alien Theory, you can get into a crap ton of stuff, and you are the most knowledgeable man, KVK, that I know on this.
Well, I can honestly tell you, Dave, that this subject can go on. I mean, you and I have had discussions for hours and hours and hours about this. And, you know, for a mini episode, it probably wouldn't be justice. I think that maybe somewhere down the line, we would have to dedicate a main episode. Probably something that we could
our typical hour and 20-minute show.
Probably something that we could advertise so that people could be a little bit more intrigued. You know what I'm saying? I think having subjects where you just ad-libbing and things like that, that's kind of like a teaser.
Yeah.
If you actually throw something...
technically, the two shows, this one and the one we had posted before on The Man They Call Dave, I think that might be a good idea. Something that we can explore in a main episode in length.
Well, I guess that's only going to be in due time, Dave.
I believe so. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Go over to KVK MMS. Unless you're changing your channel name, I'm still going to plug you.
You're gonna plug me for all you want. I appreciate it. I'm still gonna have that channel up, but just to let you guys know, we're probably gonna be developing a brand new channel that has a little bit more in depth, a little bit more content to it. But for the time being, just still plug the same channel, Dave. There's still gonna be content on that one too.
All right. Well, still, go ahead, look KVK MMS up. He's got a couple of funny videos. And as always, as he likes to say whenever I have him on the show, please say your tagline as...
You do it up big, and you always believe.
Boom. We will see you on the next episode.
Yeah, I know your name. Thought I saw you jump the Utah train, but I could not say, heard you tried to keep your hat on the shelf, married a woman, went off and loved someone else, could be as well, I cannot tell. Oh no, I cannot tell.